How we all getting along today? Nice autumn day, playing catch up, getting some finishing mowing done. Up here at the North Farm, the old family homestead. They cut hay up here this year, but I'm just catching all the spots that they didn't cut for hay, the pond dams, trails through the timber, etc. And I got to thinking, these boys who call themselves country boys nowadays, I don't know, I question some of it, whether they deserve that right. There ain't a country boy worth his salt unless he's been spent time on one of his ancestors' machines. And I'm not talking the pretty, museum parade type machines. I'm talking pulled out of the fence row that Grandpa parked, that type of machine. I have an affinity for Allis Chalmers and International, but I started out, I think first tractor I ever ran was an H, and then I went on to a Minneapolis. But when I bought my first farm, I didn't have the money for a tractor. So I borrowed my grandma's WD. And that old thing, I worked the heck out of it, and it worked the heck out of me. And when I returned it to her, that's the first thing I did was run out and bought myself a WD. This one, however, is not it. I'm sure it's long since went to the scrapyard, but this is one I'd bought off a friend of mine. And I still enjoy running this thing. Tricycle front end, no power steering, no nothing. I mean, this is just bare bones, just as bone jarring as you can get. But you know what? I derive great pleasure in running one of these old machines. Gonna give a quick walk around it. Just what she's got, what she takes, where you check her. Gonna get right here in the shade. You got your fuel petcock, got your hydraulic fluid, and the hydraulics on these things is, I don't know. I've never ran one that the hydraulics was good, but it will lift up and put down. And just to tell you the age of the machine, there's the crank in case you feel man enough to crank start it. Got the old oil check, oil fill. Got the brakes are actually in there in the differential, and these are not hard to work on, not near as bad as a D17, but you got to keep those adjusted up. Final drives down in here. She's got a check plug there. You got to check the fluid in them every now and then. These are one of the most uncomfortable tractors, and I want you to just look how it's laid out. Who in their right mind thought the steering wheel and the seat should set off to the side? Unless you're bow-legged from riding a horse, there's no way these things are comfortable. But so be it. That's the way she is. This one's, I converted over to 3-point. So I'm going to run through the controls. This has been changed over the years. But you would have, down in here would be your key. That's where your key would be, turn off and on. You have 2 knobs right here, or levers I should say. This one's your choke, and it's spring loaded, so you have to hold it. And that is your starter. You pull on that, it manually engages the starter. Got your clutch down there on the left hand side. Right here, this is your PTO. This thing does not have PT or power, or what do you call that, live power. The clutch has to be out for the hydraulics or the PTO to work. But you can let out on your foot, your disc clutch, your foot clutch, with your PTO engaged, and then over here you have a baler clutch. And this would disengage your transmission only. You throw that forward and she'll stop moving and the PTO will keep running. That way your baler doesn't plug up. And actually I use it quite a bit when I'm mowing. These things don't have a whole lot of horsepower. And you get bogged down, you can throw that forward a little bit and let her catch back up. Hydraulics, this is your lift on this side. She has no external auxiliaries on this one. I think some of them did have, but this one does not. Throttle on that side long since wore out all the notches and everything, so I've put a couple pop rivets in there for the running area. Come on back here. Now the hydraulics on these things, lacking to be desired. So they bleed down when you're trying to mow and what have you. So what I have done, I have drilled into my lift arms, put a chain on there. So when I'm mowing, rather than relying on the hydraulics to hold the mower up, I just let her rest on these chains, and that way I don't have to worry about it drifting down and getting in the dirt. Third link, don't have one, just use a chain. That way when I go down through the washes and what have you, she doesn't lift up on the back of the mower and either break the third link or get me stuck. Lift arms, drawbar, normal, all that good stuff. And how is that for an old mower? When I first found this mower up here at the farm, it didn't have blades on it. They had put in log chains on it for blades, and they were using that for shredding corn stalks. It had been shoved off in the fence row and was since covered up with dirt, and just half of it was sticking out of the dirt. I dug her out, flipped her over, cleaned her all up, and looked like the gearbox and what have you was in pretty good shape. So I went ahead and put some blades back on her, and you can see why they done away with the blade. Some old rocky soil up here. You can see where she broke the blade and threw her right on out through the side. And that's actually after they beat the hole back closed. That thing came right out through the side and went about 50 yards and landed up there by the house. Yeah, I'm glad nobody was on the receiving end of that. So, I'm finished up for the day. Y'all have a good one. Like and subscribe. Got any questions or comments, be sure and leave them. And I tell you, you can't beat these old tractors. There ain't nothing, all this fancy new stuff with power steering and all that fancy hydraulics and fresh paint. You know, there ain't nothing like getting on one of these and running her for a few hours. I mean, it lets you know what your forefathers went through. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.